Alrighty then. So it looks like we do have three people here. Um, from the looks of it, we just now got started here. So there we go. So how is everybody doing today? Hey, 80. And I did see your comment there. Um, yeah, we might. Sometimes I do just kind of go off into song. It's just that a lot of cartoon themes usually are instrumental. You don't have some have words to them, but many of them are just mostly instrumental. So that's um, kind of hard to talk about. Unlike in anime, where a lot of the openings and ending themes are also radio hits for a lot of the J-pop bands. So. Hmm. Okay, I know we have more than one person watching here. Anyways, so what up, y'all? Um, how's everybody doing tonight? And you do anything exciting today? Got two people back up now. Classical music is from what I learned from Warner Brothers cartoons. How I taught my kids about the classics. Yeah, well, yeah, a lot. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's a lot of what I was talking. Like a lot of the a lot of Looney Tunes, a lot of like the Warner Brothers cartoon, the music from that, um, the music that was from the MGM, even in some others like a lot of the music that was used for Pink Panther was from Harry Mancini, who's a well-known composer. Okay, it's just you know it is kind of hard to sing along with him though a lot of times because it's just music. It's not. I cleaned out kitty litter boxes. Is that considered exciting? Well, if you know if it makes you happy, I guess that it would be considered exciting. I mean, we all have stuff we do throughout the day that we have to do. I brought up my containers earlier, so um, so again, we're just kind of trying to make conversation here as we wait for more people to show up. You know, yeah, right now, 80. I think it's just you and me right now. Just you and me and a dog named Blue, all trying to get along. Hmm. So we're coming up on 5 minutes here. Excuse me a moment. I'll be right back. She's got a. I'm sorry about that, guys. I was trying to do something about this glare, and apparently it's still not quite working out quite right. Okay, so hopefully at least a little bit better. All right, so let's see what's been said here in the last. Uh, that is okay. I like small crowds. Hey, how you doing? 80, just to let you know, usually you at people when you're talking to somebody else, not yourself. Doing good. Feel bad for Mike being stuck here with just me, but that is where the ball bounces sometimes. Hey, Mike. Well, what's your Twitter? I don't have a Twitter, RJ. I don't. I gave up my Twitter back in December 2019. I don't. I do have a Facebook. Um, I do have a yeah, I do have a Facebook, but and I'm also on Minds, but I don't have a Twitter. Extinguish the sun. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Let's see. And I guess 80 was maybe saying something to some other people. Um, and I guess not there. All right. Well, anyway, so we got like three people in here now, so that's cool. Thank you for joining me. I'll look you up on Facebook. Um, yeah, I know it's going to be a little bit hard because it's going to be a little hard because obviously there are a few Mike Walters out there. Um, I won't say not that I really care as much, but I won't, just without risking fully doxing myself, as it were. I won't say my specific city name, but I'm basically in Southern California. I'm actually near Knott's Berry Farm to give you kind of a general idea where I'm at. So I'm basically on the border between LA and OC. So we're up to four people now. Yay, four people. All right, let's see. I talk to myself sometimes because I can. Okay. I just wasn't sure if maybe you didn't know how to use the hats and all that. So we have four people now in here. So I guess I'll start, and we're past 10 minutes already. We're now coming up on 12 minutes. So I guess I'll get going here and just kind of let you guys know what's on tap for tonight. And we're back down to three. Okay. Um, Basically, it's all comics tonight. All the articles I'll be covering are from Bounding into Comics, including some news from Heavy Metal Magazine, some news regarding um, a, a merger that Warner Media is involved with, some commentary from Ta-Nehisi Coates and Mark Millar. Also, some ArcTunes news and what was that last piece? Okay, in fact, I have let's see. Oh yeah, Neil Gaiman story. So basically, we got heavy metal mocking fans. There's some rumor about the entity resulting from the Warner Media merger with Discovery. Looking at that, Ta-Nehisi Coates is calling out Marvel. Mark Miller, well, that story we kind of everybody's kind of been aware of for a few days now. A whole 95% of comic book audience is not on Twitter. Um, as I said, some ArcTunes news, and Neil Gaiman responds to criticisms of race swap casting of Death in Netflix's Sandman. So those six stories we're going to cover tonight. Um, Let's see. Any new comments? No, it doesn't look like it. Still three of us, so that's good to go. So we might as well then get going here. We're here now. So here we go. So we're now coming up on 14 minutes. So let's go ahead and get started here. Right. I did this in reverse a little bit, but that's okay. Let's see. Alrighty then. So, alrighty then. So here we go. Here's the first story we're going to talk about tonight. Heavy Metal Magazine mocks fans not happy with new armored Tarna cover. Written by John F. Trent, published May 20th. So basically Thursday. Last Thursday, almost a week ago. I'm basically catching up because I had a couple of days there where I was doing other stuff. So catching up on some of these articles. Um, Heavy Metal Magazine decided to mock fans to express their distaste for a recently revealed cover of the publisher's six-issue Tarna miniseries from writer Stephanie Phillips. And then here, I guess they were mocking him on Twitter or on YouTube. Um, Heavy Metal Magazine first shared the cover to Instagram to promote an interview with Stephanie Phillips with CBR about the finale and her plans for Tarna and the new armor. I guess here's the cover they're talking about here. Now, granted, I don't know too much about this comic, only just from what I read here, but it's a size 30-page finale. Oh yeah, I think I did hear a little bit about this. I guess somebody was saying something about this character is normally more scantily clad, dressed and but they got her like all covered up, and I think that's where the criticism was coming from. And there's a copy of the tweet right or the I guess the Instagram right there. Cool, as I am into learning. All right. So, anyways, as we continue on here, if you are unfamiliar with Tarna, Heavy Metal Magazine's official description reads Tarna is the last living Tarakian and the guardian of our universe, a hybrid being born of the Green Warrior Tarnak and a dying universe. Tarna is a personified form of one of the youngest universes in the multiverse. Okay, very interesting. They add, with her flying speed, or with her flying steed Avis, and armed with her sword, Novera, Tarna travels from world to world, protecting the universe from the threat of Kako, the embodiment of evil. Tarna removes all the weeds that threaten the health of her universe, which is a cosmic garden from her point of view, it concludes. Almost sounds a little bit like Captain Planet, just more on a galactic level. As you can see, Tarna is typically depicted in a bikini outfit. Okay, I guess maybe we need to look up here. Heavymetal.com. So I guess this is Tarna right here, but she's normally depicted as. Now, from what I do remember too, one of the points I think Flash had made, I think it was Flash who covered this as well. One of the points he had made about this is it goes towards practicality too. Like, obviously the more covered up you are, the less range of movement you have. So that's also part of I think, the issue people had with it. Um, so, anyways, as we continue on with the article here, as you can see, Tarna is typically depicted in a bikini outfit with a pauldron and gauntlet on her right arm. However, that changed in Tarna number 5, where she put on a full suit of armor. Speaking with CBR, Phillips discussed designing the new battle armor for issues number 5 and number 6. Phillips explained, one really cool element to the finale was getting to design new battle armor for Tarna for issues 5 and 6. Excuse me a moment. Right back here. All right. Wow, we're up to 5 people now. Yay, 5 people watching. Cool. So, anyways, as we continue on with the story here, Al in brackets Nuevo and Brian. So there's Al and Brian, and then they were adding the last names in there, uh, Barrio Nuevo and Valenza. Created some of the coolest armor for Tarna that I hope we get to see beyond the issues we worked on together. It's such a cool look. Both Al and Brian are incredibly talented and a great team to close out the story with, she added. And here's, I guess, another cover here. Sparkly, Last Tarakian, Tarna number 4. George Tarna number 4. As noted by Phillips, Tarna does don the armor in the interiors of Tarna number 5. So does she does so after she was severely injured in Tarna number 4, following a fight with a giant serpent. In that issue, while fighting the serpent, she was still wearing her iconic look, as you can see below. So right there is what they're talking about. But I can see the point of them maybe wanting to change the armor around, you know, because obviously the thing about serpents have a tendency to bite, and they tend to have venom in their poisonous venom in their um in their fangs. So make it a little harder to get to break the skin if you got a thicker piece of armor. Um, After recovering from her injury at a temple at the edge of the universe, Tarna puts on her new armor as she prepares to hunt down Urkus, who leads an army in service to Kako, the embodiment of evil. Aside from being injured against the serpent, the only explanation for the armor is that she needs to be prepared as she hunts down Urkus. Are they trying to say, one of the things I would be asking, are they trying to say here that maybe Urkus has a tendency to slice people up or something like that? To where having her, bare skin exposed is actually puts her in danger? Hey, Dave Marks is here. Hey, Dave. Let's see. Looks like we have a few comments here since I last. Let's see now. Hello, 80 and Critical. Hey, Mike. Hey, Dave. I want to write a comic of my own after being on here. Might give it a try. Won't be able to do justice to graphics, but storylines might be interesting. Howdy, Dave Marks. um, at 80, at 80 typical. one of the front runners for independent comics has frequently said that writing a script is one of the most important first steps to making a comic. Can't have much of a comic, yeah, without a script. Yeah, Dave, you make a good point there. Without a story, and then yeah, you're impossible to find on Facebook. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I'll. You're. RJ, you're on Facebook, right? If you're on Facebook, then I can just find you. Are you on Facebook as Critical Blast? That. Why don't I just go ahead and look that up real quick here right now? All right, RJ. I just found you. I just messaged you on Facebook, so I just messaged you on Facebook, so you should um story is the base, I think. More comics are actually created by a team. It's rare to see comics created by wholly by one person. Yeah. Well, RJ, I hope you're still here. I did just find you on Facebook and I just sent you a message, so you should be able to find me now since I just sent you a message. So let me just see if I got any kind of reply, and we'll get back to the story. All right, maybe not yet. All right. So, anyways, we'll figure that out, and let's see. We all have our talents. Some write, some draw, some just draw the lettering. Maybe I might premiere a comic here on Mike's channel one of these days. Well, um, 80, the person who you'd probably do that better with would be Critical Blast right here. He does that stuff more. You might want to, if you do get that, looking for it, not here yet. I just sent follow up message, RJ. Yeah, I just popped in to say hi. The sleepy pills are kicking in, so I'm gonna go to bed, y'all. Um, be good to each other. Have a great day. Yeah, don't forget, Dave. On Fridays we do the historic comic retrospect where we're gonna be looking at feature funnies number 2 and 3. So you might want to make sure you can get in on that day to check that out. So, anyways, found you. Alrighty then. All right. Well, anyways, yeah. Let's see. Well, I'll wait to see if you come back here, RJ. Um, to answer your message there. Thanks for the tip, Mike Walters. I hope the blast still be open to when I submit one. I know it's just a chance, but gotta try even if I fail. Yeah, that's all you can really do. Just give it your best shot. Do like visuals of comics. Anyway, so let's get back to the story then. Oh, there's RJ. I hope we're open too. Yeah, RJ, as to what you were mentioning on the, um, I really don't know how to do thumbnails. I just do this simple picture of myself, and at times it's like I can't. It takes me 4 or 5 times to get them to stick it. To make it stick. YouTube doesn't always. YouTube always makes me struggle to put the picture I do have up as a thumbnail. I don't really know how to do that stuff though. I'm as I've said before, I'm a bit of a boomer. You also, Dave. So, anyways, back to the article at hand here as we get back to the story here about Heavy Metal Magazine here in Tarna. In fact, even with the armor, she is shown beaten down. Um, so it didn't really do much for her in the fifth issue. Yeah, and what some people I know were possibly theorizing in that was that I think what some people were theorizing with that was that she may have been weighed down a little bit more because of the armor. It restricted her movements more because she was more weighed down because having the armor on the one hand it's protecting her from more damage, but at the same time it's also weighing her down, cutting down on her mobility. So she may be she may be believing she's um getting more defense in there, but she's sacrificing mobility and maneuverability. So, anyways, as we continue on here, and I get here for a caco, whack, caco, a caco. Did you see her? In response to a number of fans on their initial Instagram post, Heavy Metal clearly mocked them. One user who wrote, They finally cover she up. Okay, that guy needs to go back to grade school, learn some grammar. Heavy Metal responded. Most people have more than one outfit, it turns out. Yeah, I mean, you need more than one outfit unless you really want to be stinky. Usually, you wear the same clothes enough enough days in a row, you're liable to start reeking a very foul stench. Another wrote, R.I.P. Tarna. Heavy Metal responded, does changing clothes kill people? We had no idea. Do you not change your no? uh, remind, even in Pokemon, okay, you hear even in Pokemon, you hear Ash's mom constantly remind him to change his underwear every day. Uh, this explains so much. Uh, One wrote, I'm torn. While I generally despise bikini armor as a whole, I also have a pretty severe disdain for the complete changing of iconic characters and looks. Um, at what point does it become an entirely different character, and where exactly is the ridiculous line of scantily clad heroines? Heavy Metal answered, have you read the book to understand the context of the outfit? Or you just masking assumptions? Trust us, read it, and you will understand. Also, people should change clothes and looks. That's natural. Unless you want to reek, unless you like the idea of reeking, right? It's like, hey, yeah, you stand. Skinny dippers and cow ponds don't have that worry, um, says a country gal. Well, I mean, yeah, but skinny dippers and cow ponds, you are in essence bathing. I mean, you are getting some of the excess sweat and stank off. So, as noted above, the change in outfit doesn't really make sense from a story point, as she goes from getting injured by a giant serpent to fighting a completely different enemy. Nevertheless, Heavy Metal would use this line in multiple responses. Yeah. I think I kind of get some of the point of what that last comment was just mentioning. They would take things to another level in a follow up Instagram post. You can see below it reads, it has come to our attention that some of you are confused that Tarna has the ability to change clothes. So to address, oh boy, yeah, this is not going to look too good on Heavy Metal magazine. They're basically doing some of the same stuff that they're doing some of the same stuff that some of these other comic pros are doing, and it's not. It's if they're not careful, it's going to really look bad for them. They continued, we'd like to remind you that you too can change clothes and to please do so, especially your underwear. We've gotten complaints from the neighbors. Oh God. Excuse me again, guys. I'll be right back. Anyways, I'm back now. Just had to step away. Just had to go away for a quick moment there. Let's see as we continue on with the article. Okay. Along with this message, they also added an official statement. Relax, guys. It's just armor. We know change is scary, but you got this. This is heavy metal. We have always experimented and pushed the envelope because that's art. It changes, grows, and evolves. We have and always will push the boundaries of art, storytelling, and culture. Yeah, but I think that I mean they're responding in a pretty condescending way, and it's they're not careful, it will backfire on them big time. They added, if you are uncomfortable with change and growth, then you will go the way of the dinosaur. Instead, we encourage you to open your mind and take the ride on heavy metal. Again, being condescending to your fans is not a smart move. These guys at heavy metal are clearly, I mean, they're not just mocking them, they're being very condescending. And that's not a good move. Anyways, needless to say, fans weren't happy with this response either. Of course they weren't. Somebody acts condescending towards you, you're not gonna want to take that. One person wrote, "The changes suck. Respect your fans." Heavy Metal responded, "No, we don't want fans like that. We are good. Thank." Oh, here we Heavy Metal. You might go the way of the dinosaur with that attitude. That's kind of the same attitude that Marvel and DC have right now, and their numbers are tanking. Oh boy! In fact, I think there have at least been a couple of comic pros who said pretty much that same statement, maybe in slightly different word usage, but still. In response, another fan, in response, another fan, to I guess it's supposed to be to another fan, Heavy Metal wrote, "We did not change it for any political reasons. We did it because it made sense in the story and gave the character a chance to grow. This is all pretty clear if you read the series." Um, I mean, they may have, but I mean, if you're gonna be, but again, I go back to the whole point. You're condescending towards your fans. That's not going to really not going to help. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can kind of see the practicality of the statement and why they changed the costume. Okay, but what ended up happening, it kind of what ended up being counterproductive within the story because you know she may have got her defense may have gone up because she has more armor to protect her from blunt force trauma. But on the other hand, she loses maneuverability and mobility. Let's see, 80, the 80s. Jack White songs kind of remind me of Comic Evolution. Okay, I'll have to take your word for it. Um, Again, as noted above, this argument doesn't really make sense. Another fan wrote, the new people running heavy metal must really hate their fans. Why do you hate us? Heavy metal responded, think about your question realistically. You are an adult, we assume. Would it make sense for a company that works so hard to create and bring new art to hate its fans? Or are you just uncomfortable with change and growth? Do you hate us because we've grown out of the box and your comfort level? Sit with that. We love our fans, but they can either grow up with or stay behind, clinging to an idealized past. No, that's not how you want to talk to fans, dude. That's not how you talk to fans. Wonder if these guys at heavy metal have been talking to DC and Marvel or something like that. That is not how you talk to fans. Remember in a previous response, they made it clear they didn't want fans who didn't like the new design. So they might not be hating them, but they certainly don't want them actually being fans, which is response doubles down on, which this response doubles down on. In this next response, they made it very clear they do not respect the fans who do not like the new armor design of Tarna. A commentator wrote, Cartoon Lady wear more cloth now. How PP become big PP if can't see lady skin. Wait. Outrage. Basically Pearl Harbor. Change lady back. Me only achieve orgasm if cartoon lady not wear many cloth. Wait. This is being deliberately Neanderthalish. Not see real lady since kicked out of comic store in 97 for harassment. Stupid Stacy. She just made because she lesbian. Me have big PP and drive cool truck. Oh, ah, okay. Either that guy's a caveman, or he's got some cognitive, and it's not if he does have a severe. Let me just make this statement real quick. He does have a severe cognitive dysfunction, and it's not funny. Okay. If this is just simply an act, though, it's hilarious. But if he does have a significant cognitive dysfunction, then it is not funny. So, um, just to make that clear, we're laughing at it because it does look silly. But if again, if if he does have a significant cognitive dysfunction, and it's not funny. Um, let's see who we have here. Fresh News 24/7. Heavy metal is boring. Hmm. What up? Just got in. BRB. Hey, back goat. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, Fresh News. I hope you're liking the content though. Spot. We're going through this story. I find this interesting. Don't know much about heavy metal in comics, just song. Yeah, well, I guess this is heavy metal magazine, so um Yeah. So, anyways, as we continue on here, I probably should. Let's see, where are we at time wise? Wow, 48 minutes. I should probably hurry along here a little bit. Um, Heavy Metal responded, "This is sadly close to some of the responses." Um, right. I don't know if a commentator here, I guess, Deidre the Hollow is her name. I don't know if that was meant to be mocking towards the fans or not. Now that I think about it, I thought it was an actual person, but may have just been somebody kind of. In this last example, one person wrote, "No, you relax. Being afraid of a mob of sociopaths who try to cancel every drop of sexualization is concerning. Your so-called going forward is nothing but a cheap excuse, since new armor style is so old-fashioned. Moving forward, my testicles." Um, Heavy Metal responded, "No one is afraid here. The change in outfit is part of the story line as an author. I'm sure you understand that. If you read the series, you would know how silly your comment is." I mean, I don't. Okay, I think in this case the fans might be being a little overly sensitive here about the change made in the comic. About the armor. They may be being a little trigger happy on this, thinking that they're doing this. I think based on what we're seeing from the article, though, I think I think they were pointing out that they're trying to, obviously give Tarna more defense, but I don't think heavy metal responded in the best way possible. Okay, obviously they're being condescending towards their fans, and that's not going to get them anywhere. As noted above, heavy metal continues to try and defend the change as a story change, but if you actually read the story, it doesn't hold up. What do you make of heavy metal mocking their own fans? Yeah, I think if they're not careful, they're gonna go the way of the they said that the fans would go the way of the dinosaur, but I really think that they are the ones who would go the way of the dinosaur at this rate, because the way they're the way they're kind of presenting it, it's kind of like, you know, I kind of get what they were trying to do with the armor change, but I don't think hey, back go even high 80. Okay. Um but I just don't think that I basically think they're handling it wrong. You don't want to be talking to fans like that. The fans may have some legit critic now, whether or not. Now, again, I don't know if they are changing the armor because they're afraid of being canceled, or if it was meant to be an actual practical change. Based on what I'm seeing here, it might be somewhat of a practical change. But man. Anyways, before we go on to the next article here, I'll be right back. I just got to take care of a couple things before we get started on this next article. And I realize I'm going to have to probably start um, going through these a little fast. I took quite a bit of time on that first article, so I'll be right back, guys. All right, I'm back now. Let's see. See if we anything here. Heavy metal was great when I was a kid in the '80s. Now they are a bunch of wimps. Are you talking about the lefty thug? Are you talking about the music backgoat, or are you talking about the comic? Um, Potty break for all. Laugh out loud. Back now, I never knew comics were so controversial. All right. So, anyways, we're gonna move on to the next story here. Rumor entity resulting from Warner Media merger with Discovery could be sold to Disney, placing DC under same ownership as Marvel. Story written by J.B. Augustine, published last Friday the 28th. So, comic book and movies here. So, here we go. Warner Media's merger with Discovery and Amazon's acquisition of MGM may have only been the first in a series of property moving purchases and mergers by various entertainment mega corporations. Hmm. Maybe it could be a way that maybe they're trying to consolidate everything to counter like manga and anime's influence. So Albert R. Albert R. Broccoli's Eon Productions presents Daniel Craig as James Bond in the 007 action adventure Casino Royale from Metro Goldwyn Mayer Pictures and Columbia Pictures through Sony Pictures, releasing photo by Jay Maidment. Okay. According to Comic Book News, who has brought much of this information to widespread attention, if Warner Discovery rises from the ashes of the former deal, that the resulting entity could end up sold yet again to the highest bidder. At the root of it, as reported by CNBC, is the agreement by businessman and landowner John Malone to give up his voting shares in Discovery in order to in order for the merger to go through, which was done in order to provide the combined Warner Discovery the flexibility to sell itself to other media behemoths. Almost sounds like they're trying to make a move to try to become a monopoly. It almost sounds like Malone agreed to turn in those shares for common equity, because he wanted to give a combined Warner Discovery flexibility to sell itself in the future, most likely to a deep pocketed technology company like Amazon or Apple or another media behemoth like Disney, according to a person familiar with the matter, said the CNBC report. Source Batman versus Superman 2016 Warner Brothers. Malone thinks the impending merger will create a new streaming company that is more than a match for Netflix and Amazon. However, AT&T, despite maintaining a controlling interest in the new company, could want out of the entertainment industry. The biggest factor suggesting that this is the case and that a sale of the Warner Discovery entity is imminent is that Discovery CEO David Zaslav will be heading up the new operation with full authority, more than Jason Kilar or anyone currently at the helm at Warner. Far from a Warner or AT&T inside man, Zaslav, a former NBC Universal executive, who could be arranging for a sale to them or one of the other major media conglomerates, says CBN. at Comic Book News, not to be confused with the Christian Broadcasting Network. Even if the sale never comes to pass, it's clear AT&T isn't interested in taking an active role in Warner Discovery, at least at this point. Source of this picture: Zack Snyder's Justice League 2021, HBO Max. Leto's here. Hey, Leto. The magazine, laugh out loud. Hey, Mike. Typical, critical, Dave. That goat. How are y'all? All right. How are you, Leto? Hope you're having a good night. Doing great. It still baffles me that Discovery buys out Warner. It's like me buying the store you work at. I work at. Good to hear, typical. Learning much here tonight. Yeah, well, if put up for auction, it's possible Disney could place a successful bid on Warner Discovery, a potentiality which has sparked rumors that the company is interested in bringing Warner assets such as DC into the fold. Should such a sale occur, it would put Marvel and their old rival under the same roof. So, so, so imagine this: the what are probably considered the two biggest comic book companies in history, right? The two biggest comic book companies in history now under one roof. Wow. That's all you got to say to that. Wow. A Marvel buyout of DC, if you will, is a weird twist of fate, but it's ironically one that has been decades in the making. In the 80s, a house of ideas actually had the chance to purchase the Warner owned comic book publisher, but the deal fell through. Later, during the 90s, the two would finally work together to publish a series of crossover events, beginning with Marvel besting DC, the popularity contest that was the Marvel versus DC, and continuing across two more sequel crossovers and several one-shot team-ups. Yeah, we saw a lot of the Marvel versus DC video games back in the 90s. I know there was like Tangent Comics and Amalgam Comics. You had some cases where you did have like Wolverine and Batman teaming up, or you had like Spider-Man and Superman teaming up. You know, you had some of that going on. You also had the Amalgam comics that actually combined characters from both universes. You had like Super Soldier, Dark Claw. So source: Marvel versus DC, issue number 3. So Superman taking on the Incredible Hulk. Hmm. Oddly enough, they even came close to brokering a deal in 2016 when then Disney CEO Bob Iger reached out to Time Warner chief Jeff Bewkes. In October 2016, shortly before Time Warner and AT&T announced their deal, Bob Iger, the head of Disney at the time, placed a call to Jeff Bewkes, chief of Time Warner. According to two people intimately familiar with those details, the New York Times explained the Disney leader asked Bewkes if he'd be interested in a possible merger. It was too late. Bewkes said there was already something in the works. Iger wished him well and hung up the phone. Later, Iger called another media chief in the hopes to forge a deal. In hopes of forging a deal, the New York Times continued. It was Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, the Fox owner, basically, owner of the Fox company. Source Avengers Infinity War. Cosmic Book News postulates Marvel wants DC Comics, but notes that no acquisition is guaranteed, instead, suggesting that it's only a possibility. If negotiations even open up, it would be good news for Kevin Feige, who'd get his chance to adapt DC characters for the cinema or bring them into the MCU. What do you make of the rumored union of Marvel and DC? Let us know your thoughts on social media or in the comments. Uh, I personally, based on how things are going, I think that would be the nail in the coffin. That would be the last nail in the coffin for both companies. These two were rivals for a long time. They did well competing against each other. And so now to try to combine these two particular companies, I don't think is a great idea. I think it would ultimately be the final nail in the coffin. So let's see what you guys are saying here. Hey, Batgoat. Discover thinks they are going to be the biggest streaming service. I wishfully predict they fail and go bankrupt at the same time. Super woke company. I'm not a fan of Disney as they own Marvel, Discovery. Um, ha ha ha! Exactly, that goat. Um, nothing nice to say about Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch is a Bitterberg weirdo and no friend to any conservative. Okay, I'm driving. I wouldn't be surprised um, these days anymore. Just past the hour mark. I ain't no conservative, but I don't. All right, so now with that story, we got two. We got a third. We're third of the way through. We're just past the hour mark. I'm gonna probably be trying to breeze through these a little quicker here. Okay, so here's our next story. Ta-Nehisi Coates calls out Marvel and their treatment of creators. It's not pretty at all. Written by John F. Trent, published last Friday, the 28th. So here we go. Black Panther and Captain America writer Ta-Nehisi Coates recently called out Marvel Comics as well as Marvel Studios for the way they treat comic book creators. In a lengthy interview discussing his final issue of Black Panther with Polygon, Coates made clear that the corporate side of Marvel is not pretty. Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, Black Panther, Black Panther number 24. While discussing how Marvel was unable to convert Black Panther film goers into comic book readers, Coates turned the conversation towards a critique of Marvel Comics. He stated, I'm not even so much talking about the writing, I'm talking about the marketing. I wish that more had been done on that level. Can I say something else too? Kind of funny because I know Yellow Flash I was watching one of Yellow Flash's videos earlier about a DC writer complaining about the way they were marketing. You know, it was the guy. I guess his name was Fitch or something like that. Guy who's currently working on Hawkman. So apparently, there's a lot of that going around. I guess. Let's see. I'm not talking about myself here because I feel like I'm somebody who is fortunate in the sense that I've been able to make a living in all kinds of other ways. But there are people who make their living off of comic books. And I wish that Marvel found better ways to compensate the creators who helped make Black Panther. Black Panther, um, I wish that they found better ways to compensate the folks who made Captain America Captain America, Coach stated. Okay, now I get what they were saying there. He elaborated. I'm talking very specifically here. I wish they found ways to compensate the author of the greatest Winter Soldier stories that you're ever going to read. I don't love that there's a Falcon and Winter Soldier show on TV, and I'm hearing from Ed in brackets Brubaker that he can't even get in contact with. I just don't love that. I don't love that. Coach added, and Ta-Nehisi Coates is the guy. Just to remind everybody, Ta-Nehisi Coates is the guy who came out and had some very harsh critiques on Jordan Peterson a couple months back. Just to remind everybody who Ta-Nehisi Coates is. Coates added, "Look, I had a great time. I had a tremendous time writing for Marvel. I am indebted to Marvel. I love my editors, Will, Tom, Alana, Sarah, Martin, Chris. I had great people working with me. Oregon State University, CC by SA 2.0. And then I guess here's all the. He then turned his ire on the corporate side of Marvel Comics, which is owned by Disney. The corporate side of this, though, the corporate side of this is not pretty. It's not pretty at all. How you treat people who create the basis for this, I don't love it. Coach continued to critique Marvel Comics, and so you can start from a position of not what my contract says, but what is right, how I would want to be treated. And again, not to go off, but I know specifically with Ed. I mean, look, the three Captain America films are, to me, like they are probably short of Black Panther, my favorite Marvel films. Frankly, when we start talking about sci fi genre movies and all of that, one of my favorite trilogies, I mean, it's just really great, consistent quality. But I also know what's at the root of that, he said. He continued, and I know, reading Ed's take, how good he was for Bucky and how much just pathos and sadness. And look, I just talked about how I don't like killing characters. I'm sorry, I'm going on this rant. I know we're supposed to be talking about Black Panther. And here's another cover, I guess, of Black Panther #3, it looks like. And he's got his head on the Panthers. He's got his foot on the Panthers' head. Coates then shared his love for the death of Captain America. The death of Captain America is just one of the greatest stories I've ever read. I'm talking about the volumes. It is bleeping incredible, ridiculously good. He continued, when I was going on Captain America, I thought about that. I was like, if I could get anywhere near this, I might have done something I didn't. I didn't, by the way. Marvel 80 Years Captain America. Captain America, source Captain America number 30. Coates then returned to critique Marvel for the way they treat creators. But to have that and to have him bleed into that book, to have Steve um, Epting bleed into that book the way he did, to see folks making billions over top of billions, and for my man to say he can't get a phone call returned. He concluded, I don't know what the relationship will be like in the future, but as a creator, you think about that. You think about how people treat other people. You think about how corporations treat other people. And I just don't love it, dude. Number 12, Black Panther. Let me see if there's what's being said here because I know, as I said, I've been focusing on trying to get through more of this stuff. So that good said, drive safe. Um, so, what comic creators are the best? Drive fast and take a lot of chances. Oh boy. Empire of Wakanda. So millions of poor old N words are starving outside the wonderful Wakanda gates while they worry about um, beating the bad guys. Get it? They are the bad guys. Man, people are dumb. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. I can't stand this bleep. Sorry, Mike. I'm a well. Backgoat. Backgoat. We have to remember. I'm just reading the article. I'm just reporting the news. You know, I agree with you. This guy sounds like a whiny clown, but it is news. I like hearing different opinions that I may not agree with. How I learn, and now I'm down to one person apparently. Ah, so we're back up to two people. In a newsletter published in March, Brubaker expressed his thoughts about the Falcon and Winter Soldier show on Disney Plus. Brubaker started off his commentary about the show expressing his happiness for Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. However, he quickly revealed that Marvel has given him the cold shoulder for the most part. He explained, for the most part, all Steve Epting and I have gotten for creating the Winter Soldier and his storyline is a thanks here or there, and over the years that that's become harder and harder to live with. I've even seen higher ups on the publishing side try to take credit for my work a few times, which was pretty galling. To be clear, I'm not talking about Tom Brevoort, who was a great editor and really helpful. He continued. Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, um, Sebastian Stan in Marvel Studios' Falcon and Winter Soldier, exclusively on Disney Plus. Photo by Chuck Zlotnick. Marvel Studios, all rights reserved. Brubaker elaborated, so yeah, mixed feelings, and maybe it'll always be like that, but I sure hope not. Work for hire work is what it is. And I'm honestly thrilled to have co-created something that's become such a big part of pop culture or even pop subculture with all the Bucky Steve slash fiction. And that run on Cap was one of the happiest times of my career, certainly while doing superhero comics. He then detailed also, I have a great life as a writer, and much of it is because of Cap and the Winter Soldier. Bringing so many readers to my other work, but I also can't deny feeling a bit sick to my stomach sometimes when my inbox fills up with people wanting comments on that show. Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, um, Fast and Sin. Okay, so here's another. Coates and Brubaker aren't the first creators to bring this up. Chuck Dixon sounded the alarm back in October 2019 in the lead up to Warner Brothers' Birds of Prey film. There's Chuck Dixon right there. He detailed that the original creator of the team editor, Jordan Gorfinkel, would not even get credit in the film's credits. Dixon explained why Gorfinkel would not be credited. Why is he missing? Because DC Comics has three weird rules about things, and they're rules that they made up. They're not rules that if you break them, the FBI is gonna bust the door down. Nobody cares about these rules but them. And one of the rules is if you're on staff, which Gorf was, he was an editor, and you create something, you don't get acknowledged. You don't get credit. You don't get cash. You get nothing, he added. Um, that I believe is Black Canary right there. Black Canary and apparently Oracle's in there too somewhere, I guess. Birds of Prey. Dixon then detailed that neither he nor Gorfinkel um, would see a dime from the film because they didn't create the creators despite creating and developing the team dynamic. He created it. I developed it. We're not gonna see a dime out of it because we didn't create the characters in the book. We only created the group they belong to. So basically, what he's saying is that those who created Black Canary, Oracle, Huntress, and Catwoman are the ones who are getting the credit, not the ones who created the team. I think what he's saying. DC sees this as merely, musical chairs. We just sort of rearranged things they already had in place. Gibson exclaimed. He went on to say they do not acknowledge that we are owed anything, either credit or any kind of remuneration, um, and that's wrong. And that's part of what I am ringing a warning bell about. Multinational entertainment conglomerates not acknowledging the work comic book freelancers put into this. What do you make of Coach's comments regarding Marvel Comics and Marvel Studios? What about Brubaker and Dixon? Well, in this particular case, they may have some points there, but I know when to leave high, tailing it out of here. Take Carol. Hmm. Oh wow, wow! Everybody's been leaving. I'm still gonna. Hopefully, some people will start coming back or coming in. Hmm. Now, I'm sorry that everybody left because this is probably a story that everybody's heard about and probably would want to hear a little bit more about. So, Mark Millar allegedly told 95% of comic book audience is not on Twitter, says statistic. Might be mind blowing for the company marketing departments. Let me at least do something here. Since apparently I'm the only one here right now, guess I will kind of try to reach out to some people in a different way here. And I do this real quick. Actually, in fact, let me do. I did this earlier, but I guess I'll do it again here. Oh, actually, no, since we already did it earlier, we probably need to do it again. Let me at least. If we can find some people who are. Let's see. Right? Anyways. Let's see. Oh, well, Leto, at least I'm here. Just driving. Yeah, I know. Just everybody kind of, I guess, because they don't like those particular people, they decided to hightail it. But I still got like 3 stories to go here. Um, oh, we're already hour. Mark Millar allegedly told 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter. Says statistic must be mind blowing for the company marketing departments. Written by Spencer McCooley, published Friday, May 28th, 2021. Veteran comic book writer Mark Millar has claimed that he was recently informed by a marketing expert connected to one of the big 2 publishers that 95% of comic book audience is not on Twitter. Revelation, which he believes must be mind blowing for the company marketing departments. Sources Ultimates, Volume 1. All right, I'll just show those. I won't. Miller revealed revealed this supposed statistic on the May 28th, tweeting from his personal Twitter account. Here's an amazing stat I heard yesterday. Only 10% of comic buyers um, have a Twitter account, and only half of those accounts are actually active. Thus, 95% of comic book audience is not on Twitter, which must be mind blowing for the company marketing departments. I would imagine so. Um, yeah, it's like they kind of keep marketing to the wrong crowd. Um, he continued, seemingly commenting on the recent turn by many publishers, including Marvel, DC, and even heavy metal, towards ignoring and, in some cases, even outright insulting their established fan bases in favor of appealing to imagined audiences on social media. Uh huh. Yeah, and we did see that article earlier about heavy metal. The Nemesis creator also drew attention to how brackets once you factor in that the average person um, follows so many people bracket that comic promos are easy to miss, and you quickly realize Twitter is really just a fun way to meet and chat with people who share our various passions as opposed to a genuine one. Yeah, okay. One of the things I remember, I think, was Yellow Flash who pointed this out, that yeah, even if it is a small number of people who are on Twitter, you're still promoting to them. You know, it may not be as big as you know other areas, but it's still. Um, when asked by a Twitter user if he could provide details on who he received this information from, Millar only revealed that it was a good pal of mine from marketing at one of the big two, and added that he was really surprised by this too. But he said, in brackets here, the amount of comic buyers on Twitter is, um, even on the slide from brackets there, according to their parent company, deep dives and makes little impact on units, which is fascinating, Millar further asserted. In response to another user who broached the topic of a well documented trend of comic book professionals using their social media platforms to engage in divisive and antagonistic behavior, Millar stated, some people stagger through the street screaming at clouds, ignore them, and focus on the fun stuff. Oh, wait. Oh, screaming at the clouds. And then, I guess, period, ignore them and focus on the fun stuff. Remember why you got into comics in the first place and the thrill of your first convention, brackets, and the thousands of people who love this just as much as you do, wrote Millar. I've never been interested in the various Twitter wars, and this puts the whole thing in perspective. Dude's making a lot of sense there. Part of the reason why I got off Twitter like almost 2 years ago, like a year and a half ago, back in summer 2019. It just gets to a point where it becomes stupid to stay on there. Laying bare how the given conclusion from the newly revealed statistic that quote, a baseline of 95% of your readers just want to read high quality comics, Millar concluded. That's what it's that's what this is all about. Twitter should just be a virtual Comic Con where we catch up with each other. Mm-hmm. Yes and no. I think the old Flash was even coming yes and no on that. But it kind of would blow the minds of marketing professionals that Twitter is not the end all be all of marketing. Anyways, what do you make of the divide between social media marketing objectives and the actual comic book customer base allegedly revealed to Millar? Let us know your. Yeah, I think Millar. I think Millar has really hit it right on the head there. He hit it right on the head there. It's you know the people who get so engaged in Twitter. And I know. I think Leto is the only other person in here right now. Yep. I think Leto's the only other person in here right now, and um, but I've come up with a very special word for people who just obsess about Twitter and like Twitter is their life. And I know Leto knows this, and I know some of the other guys they were here would know this. I call them Twidiots because that's what they are. They are Twidiots. Twidiots. Anyways, let's move on to the next story here. Two more stories here. I'm going to try to blast through them pretty quick here because we're already an hour 38, so we might run a little over tonight just because I want to make sure I get these stories in. Um, so we might run just a little over. Okay, so the next story we've got here is the Arctoons weekly roundup from May 31st, which was this past Monday. Written by the Dark Herald, and it was, of course, published this past Monday, so 2 days ago. Welcome to the Arctoons Weekly Roundup, bounding into comics weekly look at the best, the brightest, the funniest, and this week, the darkest that Archaven Comics has to offer. Arctoons has been up for a month now, so the narratives on the Archaven titles have developed and plots have started to advance past the introduction phase. We are starting to see where the stories are going. Listens now. Source Gungul. Urban fantasy is frequently thought of as a relatively new genre, that it only started gaining around the late 80s and early 90s with the works of Neil Gaiman, Charles DeLint, and Terry Winling. Urban fantasy certainly made its presence felt in the vertical titles of the 1990s. But at the time, it was viewed as having limited market appeal, just something for the goths, sandheads, and emo kids in black trench coats. Chicago typewriter. Perhaps it was a bit more niche in those days, but those days came crashing to an end with the release of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The Potterverse took urban fantasy mainstream in such a big way that it's as universal to millennials and Zoomers as The Lord of the Rings is to previous generations. The thing is, it isn't too hard to find examples of urban fantasy back in the 1940s. In the John Thumbstone stores by Manly Wade Wellman, um, or in John W. Campbell's other pulp magazine, Unknown. Okay, I guess it's supposed to be John Thunstone's stories, not stores. In fact, it should be remembered that when Bram Stoker published Dracula, it was a contemporary story. So they're basically suggesting that Bram Stoker's Dracula was urban fantasy as well. We breach in 3, 2, 1. Midnight War. And speaking of vampires, it's time to look back on Arcton's second most popular title, Midnight's War by Vox Day. Judas. Judas King. A formal request for vendetta that's positively medieval of you, Lord Varney, in Midnight's War. Everybody gets so wrapped around the axle about Lorenzo the Magnificent, self-awarded title, by the way, that they tend to forget that it was Cosimo who put the Medici on the map. He was the one that built the family's banking empire. Cosimo was brilliant at regulating the flow of wealth in Europe, so there was no real reason he would be less able now that wealth flows red. And here I had imagined you to be the epitome of the modern vampire that regards the ancient customs as an embarrassment. Sometimes the old fashioned way really is the best. Mm-hmm. Gungool. From the residue and bodies, we can tell that the perp landed right between the two gangs. I find it a little funny how popular a destination for the supernatural in my old hometown of Chicago is supposed to be. Though it does make a certain degree of sense. For a big chunk of the 19th century, Chicago was effectively the outer capital of the United States. A city at the mouth of a frontier is a city that acts as a border to the unknown. The Windy City is the town where Resurrection Mary hitches rides on Archer Avenue and the statue of Inez comes to life in thunderstorms, dancing like a little girl through the tombstones of Graceland Cemetery, and where the lone pump man swings on his makeshift noose from the top of the water tower. Some interesting imagery the guy is bringing up there, huh? And it's where Will Callaghan's Gungool seeks justice when justice has been hidden away. Gungool takes place in a Chicago where the supernatural is just another way to get whacked, and where the cops have learned to adjust. Replays events in her head, or something like that. It was as if she was there when it happened. I think her name is Justice. Chicago typewriter. You were right on time and all that. Comments and all that. Or 46. I guess I'm part Twitty. Uh, not you. You're not you, Leto. You at least have some common sense to you. I'm talking about the goofballs who are like who don't have any sense. Who just sit there and just you know bemoan things. You just sit there and just go out and cancel people or try to cancel people. Anyway, Chicago typewriter. Chicago is also where the bullet holes on Holy Name Cathedral refused to accept any patching since the day um, Jaime Weiss got clipped out by Big Al. John Dillinger's ghost is occasionally seen in the alley behind the Biograph Theater, and dogs get skittery when they go near a grassy lot on Clark Street. That used to be a garage, the place where Capone's boys tapped out their Valentine's Day love letter to Bugs Moran's North Siders on their Chicago typewriters. Okay, I'm guessing Chicago typewriter might be another name for a gun, I guess, or something like that. Guessing. If you haven't read Chicago Typewriter, now is the time to change that. This comic is fantastic. It's bold, it's creepy, and it's amazing. It's like a cross between Sandman and Harry Dresden. I can't recommend this book enough. The otherworldly dark fantasy mix set against familiar sights of the Windy City combines to create a world where a firebird is merely an unusual find. Denizens of the underworld are literally that, and a flying car is merely rather stylish. Okay, so that's a very interesting way to have a flying car right there. Instead of wheels, you have rocket boosters in the wheel bars, in the wheel wells. If you haven't kicked the tires on any of Arctoon's titles yet, then you should be taking this one for a test drive. Archaven's publisher promises that Arctoon's content will be free to all forever. However, if you would like to support the website, please consider buying a subscription. If you would like to see your comic book on Arctoons, send your submission in. That's all for this week's Arctoons Roundup. See you next week. Okay. And we got one last story and then probably start to wrap up here. ATC, you're late, man. Yes, the that was a gun known as a typewriter. It was also known as a Tommy gun. Okay. Well, thank you for that choice because obviously the title didn't make much sense until I started thinking about like the Capone references and all that. Um, Thompson being fired resembled the sound of typing on a typewriter um, in the distance throughout south side of Chicago. Okay. P.S. I've been here all night. Oh, were you lurking? Were you lurking? Is that what it was? Oh, okay. Just been lurking. Okay. I didn't know that because you didn't say anything, so I wasn't sure if you were here or not. Considering that people bailed out on me pretty quickly because one of the stories I was reading earlier was about Ta-Nehisi coats, and Fat Goat didn't want to hear it apparently. So, well, anyways, we're gonna get to this last story and then we'll start to wrap up. Laugh out loud. All right, so here's and we kind of read this a little bit last week too. I guess this is a follow up to a story that we kind of covered last week. Neil Gaiman responds to criticisms of race swapped casting of death in Netflix Sandman series, written by Spencer McCulley, published today. Probably the one story that we read that was actually published today. Everything else we were pretty much catching up on. So, in response to criticisms leveled against Netflix's upcoming Sandman series regarding its casting of death, which will see the second eldest Endless depicted as a black woman rather than a white woman originally seen in the original comic book series, Neil Gaiman has insisted that skeptical fans, quote unquote, watch the show before they make up their minds. Make up mind, you know. George Sandman, Volume 2, number 43, Brief Lives, Part 3, 1992 DC comic. Words by Neil Gaiman, art by Jill Thompson. So, since the May 26th announcement that Death would be portrayed in the upcoming Netflix series by Kirby Howell Baptiste, Cruella, from Cruella, Gaiman has spent a not insignificant amount of time on Twitter, of course, responding to various fan criticisms of his casting decisions, many of whom were disappointed that the popular character would not be seen in her on-screen debut sporting her iconic look. And then here's, I guess, the set of. And I know a lot of this has been talked about that this is them again trying to go woke, trying to race and gender swap just to appease a minority, appease a very loud minority. Much of the conversation surrounding this casting decision was prompted by Twitter user Acer D3D, who, in response to a tweet by Gaiman in which the author shared the Sandman series cast announcements, asked, "Death is black? Really?" She was one of the most iconic characters, they continued. She was like a tiny Suey with a very white face, very black clothes, and post punk hair. If you think the endless have any specific human race or form, you've missed something in Sandman, responded Gaiman. Don't worry, watch the show. In turn, at Magic Imp asserted to Gaiman, no, Neil, it's not that easy. You made Death the way she looked in every story with a great personality to match, said Magic Imp. Um, I'll give the actress a shot, but this casting smacks of checking of a box. Making Death black just to make her black is beyond contemptuous. Uh-huh. I think a lot of people would agree with that statement. Gaiman replied, which is why Kirby got the part. The ability to give us the great personality was important, said Gaiman. The skin color of the actress auditioning for the role was not. Yeah, it still smacks of that, dude. Still smacks of that. That's the thing that they're getting at. In the same thread, at Herbert Watt Ones, similarly noted in brackets, Death's design was pure brilliance in its simplicity, and people love her and how she looks in the comic. As a creator, you knew this. And that's the one design you went screw all that with, um, asked, screw all that with, asked Herbert. I hope the money was good, the user added. Baffles Gaiman responded, I always thought that people loved Death for who she was, the person that I wrote. I'm astonished to find that for some people, what they thought she was a white woman, and just a white woman, the author exclaimed. Well, dude, that is the way you presented her. The problem is, Neil, is that that's the way you presented her. and to all of a sudden change how you present her just because you got a very loud minority over here saying, you know, we want more representation, we want more diversity. It's just stupid. You're basically flipping the bird to your fan base. Inevitably, Gaiman's own words concerning the pitfalls of making changes to beloved franchises were cited against him, as John A. Douglas noted, when you change an iconic look, it's not the same. Remember, you posted about this very thing. This is literally you telling us a guy in a yellow trench coat with a pet bat is now Batman. He added. We haven't seen her costume yet. How can you be so certain? Asked Gaiman in reply. And I've read the script, and all the words she says and things she does are the ones in the comic. Why are you so certain this is going to be different? Because the presentation is going to be different. Basically, what you did here is you changed the presentation to cater to a very loud minority. Instead of the fans who you've had for years, you've basically told the fans you've had for years, up yours. We're doing it this way because we prefer these fans who haven't been loyal to us and all that. You know, that's essentially what you're doing. Gaiman previously explained why fans were abandoning major franchises using a Batman analogy. He tweeted, but the fan base are fans, and they like the source material. Because it's the source material they like, so if you do something else, you risk alienating the fans on a monumental scale. It's not Batman if he's now a news reporter in a yellow trench coat with a yellow bat, with a pet bat. Let's see. Ultimately, Gaiman retweeted a user who asked, why sell out? Just stand by your work, or do you lack the intestinal fortitude? Oh, oh, that hurts. uh, basically the guy who said that is accusing Gaiman of being a John Cena, not just not having a spine, but also having missing another part of the anatomy that's a little lower. The user added, "It irks me more that you just don't even give a bleep." Gaiman responded, "I give all the bleeps about the work. I spent 30 years successfully battling battling bad movies of Sandman. I give zero bleeps about people who don't understand, haven't read Sandman, whining about a non-binary desire or that death isn't white enough." He concluded. Watch the show, make up your minds. Oh boy. What do you make of Gaiman's response to the criticism of just casting letters? Um, that's the classic problem that we're seeing right now. Another comic bro just bending the knee. That's what I make of it. It's become a bit of a classic problem, you know. Something you almost have to expect nowadays. Saw you play Marvel um, either, but it was my bedtime. Now you're going to be like, my cell needs a charge. Laugh out loud, Leto. Yeah. To be fair, Sandman was woke when it came out. Okay, but remember, well, okay. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a hint here, guys. Yeah, that was Neil Gaiman. Sandman was one version of Sandman, but that was not the original Sandman in in DC Comics. The Golden Age there was a Golden Age Sandman who was quite different. I think you guys will like. Um, so my stuff is messed up. Tried streaming and everything is breaking. Laugh out loud. PC broke. PS4 broke. This is why I didn't cover the story. I'm in my car, just being security let. Better. All right. So anyway, so now I've got through all the main stories tonight. So, um, and as I said, we are going a little past because I think I took quite a bit of time on the first story. Um, but we're gonna start wrapping up here, guys. Thank you guys for being here. So sorry, Batgoat and 80 didn't stick around. They would have enjoyed some of these other stories too if they just had a little more patience. But that's okay. Oh, really? I did not know, but people seem to like um, just best. Um, let them have it. No, it's fine, Mike. Um, so yeah. So, anyways, as I said, I think I'm gonna wrap up here by. Are you guys ready for this day in Nietzsche history? Are you guys ready for this day in Nietzsche history? All right. Nietzsche it up, Mike. Yay, history. Okay, so without any further ado, let's take a look at this day in each history. Today being Wednesday, June the 2nd, 2021. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. And the first thing we're going to look at here is we're going to go back 40 years ago today. As on this date, 40 years ago today, from Marvel Comics, the 220th issue of Amazing Spider Man went on sale on this date with the two stories A Coffin for Spider Man, and that looked like the one of the goblins, maybe a white goblin, I guess, um, and The Nursing Home Caper. Those were the two stories with the editor, Dennis J. O'Neill. So on this date in 1981, the 220th issue of Amazing Spider-Man went on sale, as well as um, the 60th issue of Ghost Rider with the story titled "To Slay a Demon." So the 60th issue of Ghost Rider and the 220th issue of Amazing Spider-Man went on sale on this date from Marvel 40 years ago today, back in 1981. And the other piece of niche history that we will mimicking Pennywise, Nietzsche, Mikey, then we can all float. Uh, so, anyways, um, now the last piece of another passing that I'll report on from 5 years ago today. As on this date, 5 years ago today, American animator Willis Pyle passed away at the age of 101. Willis Pyle was known for his work with Walt Disney. Let's see, I believe he did some work for Warner Brothers. Most notably, he did work for UPA. He helped co-create Mr. Magoo, and also was involved in the short film of Gerald McBoing Boing. So on this date, American animator Willis Powell passed away at the age of 101. He was also one of the other things he was known for was he was the brother of actor Denver Powell, who most fans would remember as Uncle Jesse from Uncle Jesse from Dukes of Hazzard. So on this date, 5 years ago today, Willis Powell passed away at the age of 101, the co-creator of Mr. Magoo for UPA. Laugh out loud. Wow, long good life. Yeah, that was a long good life. He was just a couple months shy of his 102nd birthday. Well, anyways, guys, thank you guys for sticking around. I'm glad y'all came tonight. We did all comic stories tonight, and I guess some of them didn't feel too well for some of our regulars, but I look forward to having you guys back here tomorrow night. And don't forget, Friday night we'll be heading back to finish off October 1937 in our historical comic retrospect, in which we'll be looking at Quality Comic. Feature Funnies numbers 2 and 3. We'll be reading The Hawk and the Clock. And also, if we have time, looking at some of the reprints as well. So, maybe I'll try streaming again about OS. I'll be around till 1:20. Night, Mike. Night, Toys. Thank you. Night, Lil. All right, guys. Thank you, guys, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye.